welcome to a special edition of Northrop on the Short Porch. I'm here with ladies of sports social media for Pinstripe Chronicles today, and we're going to dig into some of the issues that we face, that we are tackling, that we'd like to see maybe resolved out there for us, pave the way. We're trying to pave the way for maybe what's going to become a much bigger movement of women in sports social media. And as I did my research for this, I was really surprised at the breadth of topics that women podcast on in sports media. And you'll see some of that as we go through. I want to welcome Jonathan. Thank you for joining us this evening. You were brave to come out tonight and join the ladies. I thought what I would do is start out with just a little introduction. Women are in a force in social media. We are content creators, podcasters, writers, analysts, marketers. There are so many roles and so many opportunities in social media, particularly in sports social media, for men and women, that you would think there would be plenty of room for all of us. And I think there are, but we certainly have to make our opportunities. Women like Katie Sharp and Sarah Langs, for example, are experts in baseball statistical analysis, and they post their findings on social media. Katie appears to hold paid positions with John Boy and perhaps StatHead. I couldn't quite tell. And Sarah works for MLB. I think, however, women look in vain to make their sports media experience into a paid gig or a career, if they want to make it into a career, if a career is the goal. And we'll find out that too tonight as we talk with the various women this evening. Not everyone is in it, to make a career out of it. What are women doing as far as social media in sports social media? We're going to tackle this. I'm going to go around the table first and introduce my panel. Everyone here has such a varied background. It was so fun getting each of these people together, and I'm very eager for you to hear their contributions on each of these topics. Stacy Gatsoulias is down in the corner there. She is a longtime baseball writer and podcast host, best known for co-hosting the daily show Locked On Yankees. I catch that as often as I can on Podcast Network. Stacy previously wrote for ESPN, SB Nation, Baseball Prospectus, and the Hardball Times. Stacy has built a reputation for knowledgeable, fan-focused coverage of MLB. Stacy, welcome, and tell us a little bit what's outside the box there.
What's outside the box? That's a hard question. Yeah, I've been with Locked On for 8 years now. Didn't expect to become a podcast host though, because when they first asked me to work, I was actually just editing the website.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, other people were hosting the show. There were 4 different people who hosted the show. I just had to make sure that it went up. Some people wrote articles, and then within a month, they all left. They ghosted me. And the head of the network said, well, do you want to do it? And I said, sure, I'll do it. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think I'd still be there 8 years later and be on YouTube and have,
Right.
11,000 people subscribe to my channel. Like, I didn't dream of that ever happening because podcasting scared me a lot, but I was better off writing. So it's just interesting that the writing led me to this path, and I've been doing it for 8 years.
Well, that's very fortunate that the writing led you. Same path for me, writing. And of course, the content, it comes from somewhere. It does, you got to have something to say especially when you're doing a daily show like you're doing. And I know that not only do you do the daily show, but do you put out the newsletter daily?
I try to. This week was a bad one. My carpal tunnel's acting up, so I can't really type. And I told everyone that
Okay.
I write the newsletter for. I said, you got to give me till Monday. I got to give my wrists a break. But yeah,
Right.
I try to do it Monday through Friday to coincide with the episodes that go up.
Okay, gotcha. Because I get the
Yeah.
newsletter and I'm thinking, she is tireless. Does she stop? And I'll be interested to see when we get to some of these topics exactly how many hats you wear. I see the one that you have on now, but I'll bet you
There's
wear, yeah, a number of hats. All right, Stacy, thank you so much. Jonna Perlinger, a lifelong Yankees fan. She's in the other corner, whose love of baseball began at birth, but really grew when she received a broken bat from Buck Showalter at age 6, just before the 90s dynasty took off. She folded her passion for the game into a career in sports media after a volunteer experience at the 2021 MLB All Star Week. Since then, she has covered the Yankees and Phillies for On New Jersey Sports, founded Babes Media to amplify hers and other women's voices in baseball. And since she hails from Omaha, home of the greatest show on dirt, she has taken pride in covering the College World Series. Most recently, she was credentialed for the MLB Winter Meetings and World Baseball Classic. Welcome, Jonna. Thank you for joining us tonight. And
Thank
tell us a
you.
little bit more about what you see when what does it mean to be credentialed?
First, I want to say it's an honor to be here with these other incredible women. I love seeing what all of you do. I get so excited when I see that there are other women out there grinding like I am, and just sharing the love of the game. So thanks for having all of us, Chris.
Yeah.
To be credentialed is one of those things where you really have to pinch yourself because I can't tell you how many times I paused and said, "Are you sure this isn't a mistake?" Like, I really felt like it was just like one of those things. I just felt like it was a mistake. But I think that's probably how it starts out for a lot of us, right? Like we have those moments where you have those small wins that keeps you going, and you have to kind of pinch yourself along the way. But I don't take any of these opportunities for granted, and even behind the scenes, I'm trying to make things keep the wheels turning. So I live in Omaha, so obviously I don't have a lot of major league opportunities in my backyard, but I try to take in as many opportunities as I can, including, reaching out to the D1 schools around to see if I can cover their events. So like Creighton this year, I covered some Big East stuff. I covered the Big Ten tournament last week. And then starting tomorrow, I'll be covering the NCAA regionals. So, just trying to keep the ball rolling as I can. So I can't go to Yankee Stadium every day like I would love to do, but I'm trying to, just keep my hands in the bucket as much as I can.
But that's amazing. And I see that you do a lot of traveling with, do you do the traveling for On New Jersey Sports, or is
So
that for you?
Yeah, so the events that I've been credentialed for under On New Jersey, like the MLB Winter Meetings and the World Baseball Classic, unfortunately, we're an unpaid organization, and that does not even include our travel. So, or I should say, that also includes travel they do not pay for. So I've footed all of those bills. I still work
Right.
full time every day in law, so completely unrelated to baseball. But
Exactly.
yeah, so
Okay.
I hopefully
Yeah.
one day it'll turn into
I'll
a
be
pay.
interested to hear what you have to say on the topic of how much it's costing you to be to do this. Yeah. Okay. Moving along, Megan. Megan, the host of The Middle, a sports podcast focused on the human side of athletics and the stories fans don't always hear in traditional coverage. Through conversations with athletes, coaches, sports insiders, and journalists, Megan explores leadership, pressure, setbacks, reinvention, and behind the scenes moments that shape sports far beyond the final score. Megan has grown an international listenership. Now, I'm so impressed by that. An international listenership across roughly 20 countries, and has featured guests including former MLB manager Clint Hurdle, NFL Network Cynthia Freeland, and other voices across sports and sports media. A lifelong Detroit sports fan, she woo woo. She spent 17 years in frustration. No, I'm just kidding. She spent 17
It's
years
not inaccurate, Chris.
in tech. I know I'm from that part of the country too. In tech and aerospace public relations before pivoting to sports media in 2025. You pivoted? Does that mean
I did. I think, there's a through line of the media aspect of it and what I spent my whole career doing on the opposite side of the table through public relations. And similar to others on here, I worked in software, I worked in cybersecurity, I worked in a couple different areas, but that through line was always the storytelling and the communications and the media angle of it. So yeah, in 2025, I left tech and thought, what do I want to go do next? And I've always been a big sports fan and always wanted to start a podcast. So I figured all the excuses I had up to that point were no longer excuses. And I was kind of let's just pull the trigger and do it. So we started last year. And I will say too, Courtney has been on our podcast. Maybe even more important than Clint and Cynthia and everyone else is that Courtney and the ladies of Glove actually were on a few episodes ago.
Love that. I love the ladies of Glove actually. They're always so supportive of everyone around them.
Listen, I do what I can.
Oh, you brought us together. Oh well, Courtney, let's talk about you. Courtney's the founder and one of 3 hosts of Glove Actually, an all-female baseball podcast covering America's pastime with humor and heart. And I love that, humor and heart. And one of the things, I'll wait, I'll get down to it. It's an all-female, I said that, all-female, but a Baltimore native and lifelong Orioles fan. She currently resides in Central Florida, but still follows her Baltimore Birds as well as the Pittsburgh Pirates following their acquisition of her favorite player, Ryan O'Hearn. Glove Actually is known for its endearing segments like Pookie of the Week, as well as a robust variety of guest voices. And this, when I read this, Courtney, I was thinking, but it doesn't mention the romance novels.
It doesn't mention the romance novels, but I always like to think that that's like an added little extra. So for those of you who have never listened to Glove Actually before, in addition to all of the baseball stuff, we tend to focus on a lot of the more human aspects, kind of like Megan does with The Middle. So we tend to focus on a lot more of the human aspects of the game. We try to have a through line that connects the episode with, typically it will revolve around our guest. We've had actors. We had Patrick Renna from The Sandlot on as a guest on an episode. We had Genevieve Albernaz, who's the wife of Orioles manager Craig Albernaz, on for our Mother's Day episode. So that's just a kind of like a little sprinkling of all the various voices that we've had. We've had a banana ball player on our podcast, which was very exciting. So the romance novels is, I feel like, another way that women's interest in sports is kind of peaking. So we always wanted to kind of tie some sort of recommended media into whatever we're doing, whether it's a book, a movie, something that has to do with baseball or whatever the theme of the episode is, just to kind of keep it a little bit more interesting rather than just like the facts and figures of this was the pitching line from Tuesday night, something like that. But I think the number one thing, and just to kind of echo what Jonna was saying, I think the most rewarding part of doing this has been meeting so many amazing people. I think it's kind of crazy that there are 3 out of the 5 of you that I actually already knew before this. Mia and Megan I connected with through social media. And Chris, obviously you were a guest on our divisional roundtable series. But Jana and Stacy, I'm so happy to be meeting you both and to start a new conversation and to meet some new friends.
100%. That's one of the great things about bringing women together is, we generally can find ways to help each other one way or another through the conversation or through networking, whatever the case may be. We
Definitely. I feel like we all have such unique voices, and I feel like everyone's perspective is
so great to put a little network together, because I sometimes feel like I'm out there on a limb, with by myself, which I am most of the time, unfortunately. Okay, Mia, founder of Black Girls Love Baseball. Yay! A digital platform and community centered around baseball culture, storytelling, and fan experiences. Through engaging content that blends lifestyle, humor, and commentary on the game, Mia has built a growing audience of passionate baseball fans across social media. As a creator and community builder, she is passionate about making baseball feel fun, welcoming, and culturally connected for the next generation of fans. And I just love that, the way you described yourself as a community builder. And I really felt that was like one of the reasons why I do this podcast, is to build a community for myself of people to talk to about baseball,
Yeah.
Actually, it starts out kind of simple for me. I just wanted someone to talk to. But I think that all of you have such a varied ways of approaching not just baseball, but sports. Some of you have broader interests than just baseball. But I thought some of the talking points, and I hope I'm not going to make a lot of noise with my papers again, as Jana told me I was doing. I have to be a little bit careful here. What are women doing in social media? What are we doing? And when I ask that question, I'm thinking for myself, I'm researching, I'm analyzing, I'm producing, I'm marketing. What are some of the things that you guys are doing in pursuit of your goals, which we'll get to down the line? But maybe just go around, starting with Megan, maybe some of the things that you're doing to make it happen, make the magic happen.
I do it all. Girls run the world.
I know. Do you have a team?
I do. I do have a producer. So I will say I have a producer that does a lot of my audio. When I started my podcast, I really looked at, what were the key areas for me? And I think it can vary for everyone. But to me, it was audio sound. The content can be great, but I think we've all listened to podcast episodes where if the audio is bad, you want to turn it off and you don't get through it. So that was always important to me. So I have been very lucky to have an incredible producer from day one. But outside of that, it really is me and my family who doesn't get paid and just more has to listen to me talk about, bounce ideas off. But, it is the guest outreach, it's guest research, it's episode topics, it's writing scripts, it's doing the interviews, maintaining relations, social promos, metrics. It really is all of that. And then keeping abreast of, what's happening in sports across my podcast does focus on more than just baseball. So keeping my finger on the pulse of what's happening across multiple different leagues and why are these stories and why do they matter, and trying to give our audience that context. Cause I think that's where a lot of, especially women, do a lot of the heavy lifting in a good way of giving that context and that added information when we tell these stories. And it is not just stats or data focused. So I run the gamut of everything. Which I'm proud to do that. But yeah, candidly, it is a lot. Sometimes there's definitely weeks where that is my family can attest. We're up till midnight editing or trying to get stuff out. We're recording at 6 a.m. or 8 at night, but you do it to get it done.
Right. And what result are you getting?
I measure our results kind of in two different tracks. We obviously have data metrics, and we use different platforms to get the actual data metrics, both in episode listenership, but on social media as well. But to me, what I really measure is a lot of things that you can't measure with numbers, which is what are the DMs that we're getting? What are the guests saying when we come on? That's a big thing. Is the guest glad they came on the podcast after we had them on? And are we able to then take another step forward in the storytelling? If one guest connects us to another, can we find more of those stories? So we kind of have that 2-track basis of the data metrics and also what kind of conversations do we really want to drive that we can have ownership over.
Right. Does that strike a chord with anyone else?
It seems very similar to what I do with my podcast, although I was going to say I wear a lot of hats with my podcast. I develop a lot of our material in our episodes, and I reach out to a lot of our guests and stuff, but I'm also creating all of our content. And I mean, in order to create content that's engaging, you kind of have to strike a good balance between what's new and what's unique and what hasn't been done before, and what are people connecting with. And that's one of the reasons I love Mia and her content so much. I feel like Mia does such a great job knowing what, just to put it bluntly, Mia knows what the people want. I just have to say that. Mia knows what the people want. She knows what specifically, she knows what the girlies want to see. And that's one of the reasons that I admire Mia so much. That's just me loving on Mia for a second.
Thank you.
But of course. And it's hard not to be inspired by all of the other female content creators that are out there. But I mean, I just think Mia has such a big personality, and I think she's someone whose voice more people need to listen to. So I will take every opportunity to talk about Mia, legitimately.
Thank you, Courtney.
Of course. And she inspires a lot of my content, and she is driving what she mentioned, what you already mentioned, is a very culturally connective conversation. So I think that is 100% what a lot of female media consumers are connecting with right now, is stuff that's culturally relevant. Mm-hmm. And I know that the stuff that drives our content is stuff that's culturally relevant. And I try to borrow, from people who are far smarter than myself. That's just me.
And I want to add too, I'll give Courtney her props that when I first met Courtney in the Glove Actually Ladies, when Courtney was describing it to me, she's like, we aim to put positive content out. And that's what I see across all of the women on the screen. But I think in general, which I very much a difference I see, is that that edict or that mandate that we kind of almost maybe have to ourselves of we're here to get that positive content out there, to shine a light on all of these topics and athletes and stories that don't normally get a spotlight.
Right. One thing that I will maintain is that you're allowed to be a hater, but you can't be hateful.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a difference.
That's an excellent point. Here, this is a question I think, Mia, that you sent me. What's the difference? And I'll just throw this open to you guys. What's the difference in your experience between being a fan with a platform and being a credentialed professional in the social media spaces? So like Stacy, for example, your experience, I assume, is different from mine, and our goals are probably quite different, but.
Well, I'm not, they don't like credentialing We've tried.
Yeah.
We've tried to. The minor league teams would be totally into it, but I can't get to the minor league parks from where I live. But the Yankees proper, there's no way we're going to be credentialed to do anything. But
Yeah.
if we reach out to people, we've had Michael Kay on twice. We've had John Heyman on twice. It's kind of funny now when we start doing shows, we're like 2-time guest of the Locked On Yankees podcast, John Heyman. We had Tim Kirkchin on over the winter break because our show, we're like in the confines of the network. So we have to do things a certain way. And we have to do things, from February 1st to the week after winter meetings, it's 5 days a week. No excuses. You have to do 5 days a week. And some people are like, well, how do you do that? I said, well, if they play all the time, which thank God they do, there is a set way of doing things. We get to be more creative in the off season and we get to ask people to be on. We also do fewer shows, so that makes it a lot easier. But we did do an interview series and we got a lot of people on the show that we didn't think we'd ever get on. And it's been really, really cool to like have a private message relationship with Michael Kay of all people. Like I wouldn't have dreamed of that 10 years ago, but now that I have a podcast, it's like, hey Stace, when do you want me to come on? Okay, sure.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, what do you have to do as far as content? Are you writing content or are you being provided with some content? Or
no, we do everything ourselves. We have a rundown we have a rundown that we fill in every day. It's the same template, then we just replace everything every day. I edit, I put up the graphics, I make the graphics for the show, I make the StreamYard streams for the like I basically do everything. Just because I'm a control freak. It doesn't mean that my co-host can't do it. It's just I'm a control freak and I've been hosting the show for 8 years. It's kind of my baby, even though it's not. It's Locked On's baby, but it feels like it's mine. And I just want to make sure that everything's done the way it's supposed to be done. We put out shorts. I have Brian do that. Brian is also more gregarious than I am. So he is better at asking people to come on the show. I get very sensitive if someone rejects me in the lightest way possible. Someone could be really nice about it. Oh no, I can't do it. And I will, not stew, but I'll ruminate for like weeks. Like, oh, why wouldn't they come on? So I have him do that. He's like my producer in that way, where he reaches out to everyone and gets them on the show. He does the shorts after the game. I sometimes do shorts during the day if breaking news happens. But I'm up late editing because, we record after the games end. And I'm up till like 3 a.m. I get it up by 3 a.m. That's when the show usually goes up. We do the audio version. We do the video version. There's 2 video versions because Locked On is owned by a TV company. So we have to push out our shows to the TV website. So I have to do that too. And I have a system, but thank God I'm a night owl. That's all I have to say, because I do my best work between midnight and 3 a.m.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm the same way. I'm a night owl myself. So I get it because it's quiet and you can really concentrate.
Yeah.
Wow. You're doing the bulk of the heavy lifting then.
Again, control freak. It's not that Brian can't do it. So I do the newsletter. I do the bonus episodes for our everydayer club. We have an everydayer club, in case you don't know. People pay money to get extra perks from our show. It's an initiative that the network did. I was afraid to even talk about it, but people have signed up for it because, people actually like our show. I'm shocked every day that people like our show as much as they do, but they do. And, I never dreamed that I would be doing, I would talk about wanting to talk about baseball when I was younger. And, I want to be on ESPN. I want to do this. I want to do that. And now I get to talk about the Yankees 5 days a week. Like my father departed, but he would love this. He would be like, wow, that's really cool. Like, good for you.
Yeah. I mean, I told you got the dream job. Wow. Jonna, I think that you have a similar situation where you've grown out of a fan platform into something more professional and something that's a career. Is that correct? Or am I going too far?
I mean, I would say I'm a little bit of everything. And that was my goal from the get-go. Like I always want to be connected to the fans because that's why I'm here in the first place. Like at the end of the day, I'm always going to be just a fan, you know? And so that's the goal of my platform. I want to reach, I want to connect, you know. I relate a lot with Mia and what she said in her bio, right? Like I want to reach all people, and I I freaking love baseball people, right? Like I just, at the end of the day, I want to connect with fans. I want to connect with players. I want to connect with all of it, right? So that's the goal behind my content, is really a little bit of everything. There was a period of time where I was really worried about algorithms, right? And I was like, how the heck am I going to crack the algo so I can start really growing my following? And I was really hyper focused on that. And then I was like, no, forget it. Like I got to stay true to me. I'm not one of those niche kind of girls. Like I do everything. So
Yeah.
I write, I'm a baseball writer. I put out articles, but I also do talking reels. I want to relate with the baseball girlies. So I have kind of the emotional side of it too, like where we're all like emotionally more tied to the game than men ever will be, right? Like we're women. And so I like to put content out like that too, like unhinged female baseball fans, but yet I also want to be taken seriously. And so I do push out stats and things like that too, because I know my shit. And so I kind of like a full spectrum of content coming from me. And I'm like, I don't care if that doesn't hit the algos. Like I got to stay true to me. So that's kind of my approach. But like I wanted to go back to, because I wanted to say, Mia, I've been following you for a while, and I absolutely love your content. Like your talking reels, you're so captivating. Every time I see your reels, I stop and watch them. And so I don't want to put you on the spot, but we haven't heard from you, and I'm like dying to hear your secrets behind like the content you create and kind of what your approach is. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but
No, you're
really
totally fine.
If you didn't, Jonna, I was going to. So
no,
I'm
I
kind of
literally
curiosity.
I've been sitting over here just thinking like you guys are so professional and structured, and I am a hot mess. I am a one woman show.
Mia, I'm
Essentially,
also a hot mess. Just so you
okay.
know. Don't worry.
Oh, because it just I have two friends who will go to baseball games with me no matter what. They will go to baseball games with me since I decided that I wanted to start Black Girls Love Baseball. I started it back in 2023, basically because I just got a lot of just reactions that were just strange to me. For I've been a baseball fan since 2015 when I started dating my husband. Back then he was my boyfriend, and he used to give me bobbleheads. Every time he would get a bobblehead, he just would give it to me. He's like, oh, you can do something cute with it. And so I would, put them on my desk at work, and people, men, women, black, white, any, like, just people would always just be so shocked that I was a baseball fan. So I, didn't think too much of it until like years into it. It just was like, why is this always such a just like, wow, you like baseball? Oh, you really know baseball? Like if I'm in a restaurant, I'm asking them to turn on the Braves game. They're like, you're a baseball fan? I'm like, yes. Is it, strange? So that's what ignited me starting the platform. Just so people know that, black girls do like baseball and love baseball, and it's totally fine. And when I first posted in 2023, it was just like on TikTok, people were just amazed. Like it was just something like I was a unicorn or something. So it just made it into a situation where it was like, okay, maybe people really just don't see it. So maybe, I'm on the right track of doing something. So like I said, I started it on TikTok. And the TikTok family just it turned into a whole thing that first year. We used to go live at the games, and people would just jump into the live watching the game with us, and that's what kind of just like sparked it into a community, really. Because before that,
Right.
when you just post things and like you can talk to people in the comments, but you don't really get that one-to-one interaction. Well, going live is when like people just I felt like I knew them, they felt like they knew me. And so, like I said, I do have two friends who, from the very beginning, I told them I want to start this platform. Will you guys come to the game with me? They were like, girl, yeah, no problem. And so those are still my two friends that will attend games with me and help me capture content. But outside of them coming with me and helping me capture content, I do everything that you guys see. Editing, besides, like I said, filming when I'm at the game, filming in my car. I do work full time as an accountant. I am not in a position to leave my job by any means. I do have goals to one day be a full-time content creator, but as of right now, it seems like that is something that I don't know how far down the road that would be, but I do enjoy the stability of my 9 to 5 job. It does take um, a lot of my time. So when I create content, I know you guys probably this year have seen, if you were following me on Instagram, seen all the content of me just in my car, and I'm always saying I got to go to work. I set a plan this year because last year I was also laid off. So I had a lot of time last year to create content and just to be more curated, like sitting in front of this backdrop and just doing cutesy little things. And then I got laid off. I got a new job. My new job, it's a lot harder than my old job. It takes a lot more of my focus and time. So I had to like pivot in a way where it was like, I can't do the cutesy content all the time. I have to just, do something. I do still want to show up. And so that's when I started the car content. And people tend to relate to, I call it ugly content, car like random content a lot more. It was so funny that Courtney, you said, I know what the people want, because I absolutely feel like I don't know what the people want. I'm like, I don't know what you guys want. Content is so hit or miss. It's like you can post something and it pops, and you can post and post and post. You can put hours and hours into something and it goes nowhere.
Nowhere. Mhm.
The stuff that I
Mhm.
literally, like I said, look a mess, or just quickly thought of, I just had to get something off, and that's what people are like, wow, this is the greatest take ever, and you're just like,
I'm so glad you said that, because I can't figure it out for the life of me how something that you do like on the spur of the moment can get 5,000 views on YouTube, and then something that you really planned and you were like, okay, like for weeks you planned it and you planned it and it gets like maybe 1,000. You're like, how did
I
this
mean, I
happen?
have flown
Literally
places,
every content
traveled
creator
for
I
that.
know says the same
It's
thing. Like it's I
Nobody
don't
wants to see your curation. Nobody wants to see what you put your heart and soul into. Like
yeah.
they want to just see you. Like I said, it's literally ugly content. That's what this girl on TikTok called it before. She said, "Show up ugly, it'll be fine." And I was like, I can't. I cannot
it's
show
so
up ugly. I
inspiring
have
to
to do
hear you
something.
say this.
Look,
Yeah,
that's why
no,
I
it's like
do my content before work, because I'm always put together pretty much, well, for the most part, before work. So it's easy too. But like when you're home and you're just like trying to, I have 3 kids. Like I said, I have a full-time job. I was T-ball coach this past season. Like my life is a
Wow.
complete circus. So
yeah.
I just do the best I can randomly and try to just keep up, like you guys said, with current events and the culture and what everyone's talking about. And just you know, literally flying by the seat of my pants, literally.
Yeah, I work full time also, and I've never had any help. Like I've done all this 100% myself. So I love here. Like I feel a lot of pressure sometimes to look good
Yeah.
behind the camera when I'm doing talking reels. So like a lot of times I just don't do them because
Yep.
I'm like, I'm still, I work from home. So some days I'm like, I haven't had time to do anything. Like I'm still working. And so sometimes I just don't even end up doing them. But hearing you say, like, you still got to keep putting the content out there no matter what, like that to me is really, that's a good reminder for me that like, just put the
The
content out.
pressure
Like,
is
who
on
cares
when
what
you're
you
by
look like? Let's
yourself.
be real.
It is. The pressure is it gets thick when you're doing it by yourself. And like sometimes I want to quit. I went through a real phase where I really wanted to quit right before the season started, which I could have been just missing baseball woes. I could have just been in a little depression, off-season depression, I kept calling it. But um, it's just sometimes you just feel like when you don't show up, you're gonna disappear. And that's not the case. It's just a little scary. The algorithm, I know somebody was talking about the differences and trying to figure out the algorithm. I had to stop figuring out trying to figure out the algorithm, because it's literally you can have a I've had posts hit 150, 200,000 views on Instagram and sit at 900 views on TikTok.
Mhm.
And it's
Yep.
like well, I thought the same people follow me across platforms. Do you guys not like it over here? Did I do it? It's a whole thing. But it's still very exciting. I am very much on the fan side of it. I know you guys mentioned a lot about being credentialed. I haven't actually, I don't even actually know exactly what that means. I think it means like, you get media access to the field and stuff. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. And people have asked me in recent days, like, you should be getting on the field interviewing players. I don't think I'm ready for live interviews. Some people have said I should start a podcast. I don't know if I have enough juice, I guess, for a podcast. I just feel like I'm very much stuck in my little lane. But you guys have opened me up to just thinking maybe I should try to, expand further to make this more of a career than, my little fun thing that I do.
Maybe you can see for well, maybe not next season with the lockout, but if there's not a lockout,
Right.
maybe go into spring training and seeing if you can interview people there, because it's a lot more
Okay.
lenient than it would be during the season. And you can even, if you
Okay.
could, make it a vacation also, but go to
Yeah.
spring training and see if you can get in that way.
I went for spring training in 24. And in Florida, it's nice. But I did say I want to go to Arizona. So
So you gotta go to
next
the
spring.
Arizona spring trainings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go to Cactus League for sure. I'm
Yeah.
excited. They said that's where the party is, that's where the vibes are. So even though my Braves aren't out there, I was like, I'm just gonna, wear neutral baseball stuff and blend in.
One question that I wanted to ask you guys, which feeds into some of the things you've just been talking about, what do you think the cost is of being active on sports social media and building a presence or building an audience? Are you spending money to do this, or are you being
Yes.
paid to do this?
I
Yeah.
mean, you spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. Somebody made a joke in my comments and was like, I want to be rich like BGOB because I bought a $44 burger at the ballpark the other day. And I'm like, I did buy this, yes, but I am buying this for the people, to share this with the people. And
She
actually
did it for the gram.
right, did it for the gram. Like it cost a lot of money. My first season, I probably spent maybe like $3,000-4,000 of my own money trying to just build, like going to the ballpark, buying
Right.
drinks, buying food, buying outfits, shoes, because that's part of my aesthetic is, having game day fits that are, capturing and captivating and stuff like that. And then after that, so I did my second season, I did get my first brand deal with Baseballism. And so at that point, I tried to, if I made the money, I can spend the money and not spending, money that I'm working my 9 to 5 to get, So
Right.
that's what I started doing at that point. I'm still pretty much on that, but I do essentially spend everything I make from my brand deals because it costs going on. I went to the World Baseball Classic in March. Very expensive, $400 ticket to the game, flights, hotels, all these things. And it's all on, essentially me. So
Right.
Yeah.
it definitely costs a lot to be a content creator. You have to like, I don't even know, have a system or like, if you're not being sponsored by anyone,
Right.
it gets very costly. Because going to games and like I said, going to the game and taking friends with me, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
costs the same as going to Disney World like 35 years ago, going to one
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Like, not even
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking at least $40 for a ticket. I mean, minimum. And those numbers can skyrocket.
Mhm.
Food is easily $25. Drinks, $20 drink, $25 drinks. Like it definitely adds up. Parking, let's not forget about parking.
Yeah.
Parking
Yeah.
I have a system. I can't reveal my system on here. I have a system for parking. I will tell you guys all offline if y'all are ever in Atlanta. But yes, it's a whole thing. That's the only thing I probably have structure around is my parking system, my eating, like, know if I'm gonna buy something expensive to eat, know if we're gonna split something to eat, drinks and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
It's a
also
lot.
you have to also budget not only your money but your time, especially if you're
Yes.
creating content while you're at the games, because
Yes.
you don't want to be that person sitting in your seat making 4 and 5 TikToks and
Oh my
disrupting the
God, it's a
people around
nightmare.
you. So, yeah,
And people look at you crazy. They will look at
exactly.
you. That's the other thing. Like I had to get a wall of just somebody asked me before, how do you
Yeah.
make content in public like that? It's like you have to literally put a mental block. Like they're not looking at me.
Yeah, because
They're not
I'm like,
Yeah.
looking. Yeah. But you also have to, I do follow, I have like, I don't know if you guys follow me, y'all know I have ballpark etiquette. I do not do
Yes.
any camera lifting, TikToking in the middle of an at bat. That's on both sides. You know, it has to be a break. And I usually do most of my content prior to the game starting
Yeah.
because usually everybody notices now that I go to almost every giveaway. And so you have to be there as soon as the gates open. You get there
oh
when the
yeah,
gates open, get your giveaway, then you have like an hour before the
Right.
game starts to walk around and make content without bothering anyone. And
Yeah.
then during the game, it's very hard for me to make content during games. Like just aside from
Yeah.
just pictures and stories and all that stuff, like actual videos. I don't ever have a microphone with me, in the stands. So yeah, that part I haven't mastered that yet. I'll get there eventually, but that
I
part
think
is still
Yeah.
pretty tough.
I have found, maybe y'all have found it too, like it's a little bit of that. To make money, you have to spend money. Like it's a lot of,
Yeah.
I have to find out ways to, if I want to get access into something, training camps, I got to go there myself. I got to find the connection. And sometimes that, we're looking right now at going to the Buffalo Bills training camp. And that means a flight out to New York. I'm in Colorado. And then that means all these other things. And so, but there is kind of that hope that by doing and taking those steps, you are able to build those inroads and you're able to get those stories. But I have to remind myself, because I think I'm in the thousands. The other thing that surprised me too, I don't know if y'all had this, is even just the back end stuff, like the platforms that I use, the softwares, they're little things, but they add up into.
do.
I did my taxes earlier this year, and my tax person was like, "What are all these like little invoices for $15 a month here, and $200 here?" And I bought a podcast mic, and and all that stuff. It's worth it, but it adds up, and that's just not even going to a game or anything like that. So I think any ways that people have to kind of cut that cost down is always welcome.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I can't even say how many like little $10 a month app for this or that,
Yep.
and then
Yeah.
you get something new, and it's disturbing to even think
Yeah.
about. Like, I don't even know.
Chat
You have to-
GPT.
Yeah.
Chat GPT
Yeah.
Plus
Yeah.
is $20 a month. They just they prompted me to upgrade to Chat GPT Pro for $100 a month. I was like, Chat GPT, get out of here. That's
No way.
never gonna happen. But it
You
does
need
cost.
you need like a subscription for everything, and everything is
Yeah.
kind of like a pay to play type deal. So
Yeah.
yeah. Again, it's why conversations like this are important, because you never know who knows who and who can get you connected with who. And
Yeah.
I found some of my guests for the podcast in the most insane ways. Like, this person knows this person knows this person who knows Patrick Renna from The Sandlot, and that's how we got Patrick Renna. Somebody knew. Oh, so one of my co-hosts, Melissa, her husband works with Genevieve Albernaz's brother-in-law, I think. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that out loud. If not, I'm so sorry. But that's how we were able to connect with her. Like, that sort of thing. It's crazy how,
but it is about who you know. Like, a lot of
Yeah.
my job opportunities came about because of who I know, or because people saw me on Twitter, saw things that I was writing for free blogs way back in the day when I wasn't getting paid to write. And that led to me getting paid to write. And then that led to me getting the Locked On job. And now I just exclusively, other than the newsletter, I do podcasting. But it really, nearly every job in my life is because of someone knew that I was able to get my foot in the door. Because that is a big part of getting your foot in the door, is knowing people.
yeah.
But I do want to say, like, because I know we've talked about like how expensive it can be and how you have to know people, but I also, if people are listening, don't want them to be deterred because they're like, oh, it's going to be expensive. Oh,
100%.
you know, I have to know people and I don't know anyone. Because I personally, I don't have much money. I'll say that. I also know nobody, but I started this with absolutely nothing. And now I go to a signing event in January and David Cohn reaches over and gives me a big hug, right? Like I go to the winter meetings and Jack Curry says, I know who you are. You're JP Yankees girl. You know, it's stuff like that. But I didn't know any of these people. So I get on Twitter. That's how I started anyway.
I tricked David Cohn with a baseballism T-shirt one time. I was wearing the 643 = 2 shirt, and I held it out. I'm like, "What is this?" And he's like, "Wait a minute." I'm like, "Dude, you're a pitcher." And he's like, "Oh, yes. I got it." Okay, it took him a little bit, but he got it. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's when you hit him with name 3 players.
If you want him to have him on your show, he will come on. He's awesome.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I love that.
Connected, but it's like, but I wasn't connected to any of these people before. And so don't be deterred if you are listening and you're like, oh, they've talked about how expensive it is. And they've talked about how you have to know people, because really, like, if I tell people all the time that ask me for advice, like, do you have a phone? Do you have the internet? Then like you have
Put
everything.
yourself on it.
You can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to tell everyone. I just want that message to be clear that like we all probably started from that place at one point too. So
Yeah.
Well, and I think, Jenna, what you're saying is the whole media landscape has shifted in the last, I mean, you could say 5 years, but even like 15 to 20 years. And so I think for a lot of folks like us, that credibility is in a good way no longer coming from you went to a journalism school and then you worked at this paper or this broadcast station. It's coming
100%.
from you're able to build that. We are able to your point, build that credibility on our own through the ways that we want to do it. And that credibility still matters. Because I think that you asked earlier, Chris, like what's the difference between a fan and a professional? And I think that all professionals are fans, but not all fans are professionals.
Right.
And I think this ability nowadays to build your credibility in your own way and through your own content is a much easier way to get started and to build that. You don't need that money. You don't need those connections to still build that, to then get to that point where you can have those.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. And I started in writing for the free blogs, as Stacy was pointing out, Yanks Go Yard, for example, and Empire Sports Media.
Those are two places I actually didn't write for, but I wrote for a lot of other
inside
in the Yankee space.
Yeah. But and I didn't ever really dream of making any money doing that. What I dreamed of doing was coming up with a great idea that someone, would pick up, and it would become like, wow, look at this great idea this person came up with. I don't know that ever happened either, so to speak. But anyway, it hasn't stopped me from writing every day. And, I'm sort of coming at it from an academic perspective. I was an English major, I think I mentioned earlier, but what I love to do is research, and I like to take information and distill it and then be able to present it out in a way that is interesting and informational. To start the conversation. That's what I always like to do, and get people talking about the topic. Somehow. That's generally, my shows are generally pretty informational and data driven for that reason, because I'm kind of an egghead as far as it goes in that regard. But I'm looking for a co-host desperately right now who's the opposite of me. So if anyone knows someone looking for a podcast, send them a Yankee podcast, send them my way. But what I think one thing that I had as a goal was just the ability to connect with other fans, because I felt like I was in my own living room, living, like the experience alone practically. So one of the things that social media that I learned, learning Twitter, Facebook, going on, Instagram, was learning how to have the conversation that people want to be having and what kind of conversations they have about sports. And it took me some years to really get that and to learn the language of it. But I feel like one of the things that I do well now is I understand the language of sports, and I think I can communicate it. And that's my goal, is being able to communicate with fans, something that I think I might have noticed that they didn't. Who knows? They probably noticed a billion things that I didn't. But what are some of your goals as you go through the work and make the sacrifices that we're making to do this?
I'll just jump in here. I know for me personally, I just really enjoy making sports content. I enjoy connecting with other people in, settings like this. And I think that any way that I can translate my love for the game into sharing that with other people, ultimately, would I love for this to be a full-time job? Absolutely. I think that where we're at, I think we're probably still a little ways away from that. So it's probably just going to have to be the side hustle for now. But you never know. Stranger things have happened. Ultimately, I would love for, to be able to go out and cover the games in my way, in the way and the perspective that the podcast has been developing. Just because I feel like that is, like I said, that's really different from a lot of what I'm seeing. I do really think that the more human side of the game is something that always connects with people.
Yep.
So, you see a lot of the more viral moments that the MLB will, put out, just little clips of, they'll really take off. And some of the strangest, or some of the stranger things will kind of take hold, and they'll kind of like trend out for a while. So I kind of want to be the person that's sort of riding the wave of the more human side of the game. I think that would be really neat. And if I could connect with other people while doing it, even better. So that's just me.
Yep. Connection.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like that people who watch my show, listen to my show, have told us that they consider us friends and that we don't talk down to them. We're also not loud Yankee fans. We're very measured. Well, we'll get loud if something bad happens, but we try to, we don't have pinstripe glasses on. We say what we want them to do. And if they're doing badly, we will call them out for doing badly. We're not going to sit there and sugarcoat anything. But I had asked the people who listen to the show, because Locked On wanted to know, like, why do people come back to your show? And they said, we feel like you're friends with us. And I love that, because I was once told with my writing, took me a while to get my groove when I was writing, because I was really just doing it for myself. And then people invited me to do blogs and things like that. And it took me a while to find my voice. But once I found my voice, it's so important, because people can relate to you better if you're not putting on airs, if you're not putting on an act and you're really truly yourself. And it took a little while hosting the show for me to get comfortable enough to really reveal myself to people. But once I did, more people, came in, and it made it a lot more fun to do and not as scary to do. And it really is. I log in to StreamYard with my co-host, and we talk to our audience like they're our friends, and they're hanging out with us for a half hour, 5 days a week.
Yeah. And it feels that way. I mean, I love it. I watch your show. I think it feels comfortable. Now Brian gets a little hype. He's hype. He gets hyped up.
Yes.
But yeah, he's got that crazy energy.
Plus, he's, I'm old enough to be his mother, so the The duo is funny because, you know, he's Gen Z, I'm Gen X, but he has
Right.
boomer takes when it comes to certain things, and I don't.
I
And it's
love that
it makes for an
combination.
interesting dynamic. Yeah.
I had a young man come on as a co-host with me just for one episode. He was like 20 something. I'm 65, just, you know, in case you know. But I loved it. I loved the way we could play off each other because the interests were so different. But yeah, you know, we could come together over obviously things. But I would love to find a co-host very different from me.
Yeah.
In that regard, I think that would be beneficial. So
Yeah, we're like brother and sister, kind of. Like I'm big sister, he's little brother. I like teasing him. I also like I'll occasionally like not a totally off color joke, but I'll sneak something in there every once in a while just to shock him to see how his reaction will be. It's fun.
see if he's actually paying attention.
Yes, that's what it is. I want to see if he's paying attention.
Oh my God, I love that. So has anyone not spoken on what your goals are? Would anyone else like to speak on that?
I have a goal of just doing content full time, doing baseball content full time. That is my ultimate goal because I feel like I could give so much more to the baseball world if I was able to make content, 24/7. But well, not 24/7. I do have kids, but majority of my time, if I could spend the majority of my working hours making content, it would be. I don't even know where it would go, but it could definitely go places.
It's funny, the chat, someone just shouted out Giancarlo Stanton.
That's actually a friend of the pod for Glove. Actually, it's
cool.
So there is a verified account that keeps track of every MLB player and minor league player and also some college players that are having Tommy John surgery.
Oh, wow.
So it's a very niche thing, but you can keep track of anyone who's going to go down for Tommy John surgery. I also love the TJ watch. So shout out to Tommy John surgery and also to my bestie Bash Bro Joe for being here and listening. So
absolutely, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Dude, don't scare me like that. I just had to Google and make sure he wasn't getting Tommy John surgery. I'm old. You can't do this to me. Oh my God.
You guys, what does it take off screen to produce a show? What are you doing what are you pulling together? What are you
heart and passion?
Heart, passion.
That's what I say. Heart, passion, like a willingness to work hard. But like, I feel like that part of it, I mean, that comes with like having the heart and the passion. If the heart and the passion are there, then the hard work's going to follow like naturally, if you have to work that hard at something, I feel like that's probably not right for you. Maybe you don't love that thing. You know what I mean? It's not your true passion.
Yeah.
But I tell everyone that too, like if something is your passion, and you're working hard at it, then you are the expert. And so you don't need anything more than that. So that's why I tell everyone that asks me for advice in this. Just love what you do.
Right.
I'll double tap that.
I mean, baseball is something that I have to stop myself from doing. You know what I mean? I will spend, now that I'm retired, I'll spend all day like going from one thing to another, looking at stats or players, or it's like, will you stop this? You've done this all day.
Literally.
And then I'll be
day well spent.
Like, oh, can I find a game? I've just become, be careful when you retire, because then, I'm just like a total baseball head now. I live in the dream over here. And I wasn't going to do a podcast. I did a podcast for 6 years with a partner, and we had a great time. It was called The Upper Deck, and it was on Sunday. Every Sunday morning we did. It was a half hour usually. I like to do short shows. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sort of committed to short and sweet, hit them hard, and Whereas the guys on our channel, they go on and on and on. But they prepare differently than me.
Chris, what do you mean they go on and on?
Yeah, they don't have a script at all. They just they're like they have hubris. They like, we know the Yankees. So, they for me, I'm like, well, I know some things, but I better put something together or I'll go on.
Oh yeah,
on.
I have to have the rundown, because if I don't, I will just be babbling for a half hour, and no one wants that. So yeah, the rundown helps. It's not a script, it's just a rundown. Like, I don't script out everything I say, because I don't want to sound robotic either. But yeah, if you have something there in front of you, it makes it so much easier.
Exactly. Well, you saw the kind of crap I put together for you guys. I mean, I didn't try to flesh it out into any, like, my outline wasn't even very outline-ish, but I just really wanted to get stuff on paper so you could, get ideas flowing. Because it didn't matter what it looked like. I wasn't publishing it, and actually I'm not writing anymore. I don't know about how many of you are writing, but writing is so much harder than podcasting and takes so much more time that I've kind of stepped aside from that at the moment. And I don't have I don't have anyone to write for. This particular,
well, that's the other problem.
Right. This particular group that I'm with now don't have a blog. So there's no print side of it. But that's okay. It's forcing me to focus, well, especially since I'm doing it alone. It's focusing me to get it right. But anyway, let me switch over to my next page here. I think the last thing that I was thinking we could talk about is what would make the industry more accessible for us, for females, for women who are interested in starting off and making a career? Is it just that you need to get going and get started and do it? Do people need to get degrees? What do you think is the best path for someone to take up podcasting or take up social media and make success out of it?
I think just doing it.
Yeah.
I really think just doing it. Like, this is the era that we're living in now, where, you could just, like we said, you never know what the algorithm would bring, but like, you could just talk into your phone and have it hit really well, and then suddenly you get like thousands of followers out of nowhere, and tens of thousands of views, and then you just start from there. It's so different now than it was. I didn't get into this until I was in my 30s. I went from getting my broadcasting degree, then going into sales for a while. So I didn't even get into the writing and broadcasting stuff until, the broadcasting wasn't even until my 40s. So it took me a while to use my degree, which would also thrill my father, because, I didn't do that right away. But it was such a different path, and even for me doing it at that late a time, because again, I started doing blogs for no money. I'd push things out on Twitter. I became friendly with more people on Twitter who wrote, and then they had blogs and would ask me to write for their blogs. And then I would become part of projects with other writers. And, and then I never thought in a million years that I would write for Baseball Prospectus, because that always seemed like that's the smart people website and book. Like, I had Baseball Prospectus annuals, but I actually did the majority of the 2018 Yankee comments, which I never thought would happen in my life. And it was all because
I was so impressed by that, Stacey.
Yeah. Like,
dang.
Because it was so funny in 2012, I knew people who wrote for Baseball Prospectus. I'm like, yeah, that's not happening for me. And by 2016, I was actually part of Baseball Prospectus, just because I kept writing for free and grinding away. And then people started noticing my writing, and then everything started picking up there. And again, I was 39, 40 when things started happening for me. And here we are. I'm almost 52, and now I host a daily podcast. So it's just completely different now. You can really get things going just by putting yourself out there.
Right.
I definitely agree. And I think a lot of it kind of goes back to what Jonna was saying about, using your passion and, turning that into your energy to keep going. I do feel like, there are, especially for women who specifically want to work in sports, I feel like now is the time. I really feel like we're turning a corner. We're seeing more women kind of breaking into that space. We have people like Jen Powell, obviously, the first female MLB umpire. Shout out Jen Powell, who are really blazing the trail for other women to come behind. And I think, to speak to specifically the passion and energy driving, making you successful, I do also feel like there are a lot of, what's the right word? I don't want to say system. There's a lot of systemic stuff that I feel like automatically kind of pushes women out and pushes women to the sides in sort of like the name 3 players type deal. Which is, I think, probably the most annoying thing that women experience. Just because I'm like, okay, name 3 players from what team, what division, what league, what year. Come on. You want to talk baseball? Let's talk baseball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like with the surge that we are seeing specifically in the last 2 years with even with other women's sports, now the PWBL is coming up to bat.
Right.
Pun intended. So now that we're seeing the WPBL, we're seeing a huge uptick in the PWHL. The WNBA has had the strongest 2 years that it's had in its existence. So I feel like women's roles in sports, not just as athletes, but also as the folks behind the scenes who are making the game happen, we're turning a corner. I feel like we are so close to some type of a breakthrough. I don't know what the breakthrough is. I don't know like when it's coming, but I feel like it's coming.
It's just amazing to me that it's 2026. And when I was talking to guys that I went to community college first, and then I transferred to a 4-year school to get my broadcasting degree. And when I told them what I was doing, they thought it was the coolest thing ever. I didn't hear anyone say, well, you're a girl. Why are you doing this? And it's just so strange that 30 years ago, men were a little more accepting of me trying to break into the sports business, where now it feels like we're still stuck in this cycle of being held back because we're women. And that's just ridiculous to me. It's almost 2027, people. Like, get with it.
Yeah. It's absolutely absurd that, the first part of a conversation with any man after you reveal you're a sports fan is, oh, well, let me go ahead and test your knowledge.
Yeah, like what's the Orioles 1983 roster? You don't even know the Orioles 1983 roster. Why are you asking me that? Like,
exactly.
Stop. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that Courtney kind of stole like all of my words as I was like, no, we're vibing on the same wavelength.
Good.
But I would say, like, for me, it's everything about the passion about it. But like, I'll put certain outlets and teams and leagues a little on blast, like especially with female content creators. Like, we are not free content. We are not sources that you can use when you have a moment that you want to promote, and then you just kind of fade them away back and you pull them back up when you need them. Like, for there to be more accessibility, I think there has to be this recognition and this willingness to say those names in the rooms that we're not in, and to advocate for that. We are not just this free writing or free promotions that you can go use. And to me, it requires more flexibility. It requires a different way of thinking. And, there's still people out there that like don't know what a podcast is because they don't listen to them. But just because you don't know it doesn't mean it's not a valuable thing for you to have in your back pocket. So I think the industry needs to stop acting like, because you didn't come up through a traditional means, or because you don't look or sound like someone, or you don't have the achievements of someone else, does not mean that you don't bring a value and you don't bring an audience that is still valuable to them. So I'll put a lot of teams. I think there are teams out there that
Yeah.
are doing that well. I will say, like, they're across all sports, and there are leagues that are getting more and more into it. But I think a lot more can be done.
I also one more thing that I have to tag in and talk about is the fact that I want to say most homes, women are the primary consumers, and I feel like it's only been in the last 3 to 5 years that companies have started marketing towards women, and I feel like that's why we're seeing an influx of female sports fans, because they've finally gotten hip to the fact that they need to be not oh my gosh, all the words just left my head. They don't need to
male
be
focused.
Yes, they don't need to be catering to the male gaze. They need to be catering to who spends the money in the household.
Right.
And I feel like it's such a missed opportunity if you choose to specifically only target men because they are the de facto sports fans. So I think that conversations like this are so important, and what we do is so important because it just adds fuel to the fire of women are here and we need to have our voices heard. So that's all.
I'll be honest. I'm kind of a wild flower. I'm kind of a unhinged, like, female baseball fan where I've held this confidence my whole life. Like, as a little girl, I wanted to be the first girl in the like I wanted to play in the NBA. I wanted to be the first girl to dunk it. I'm 5'9", so like that's never gonna happen. Also, Lisa Leslie came along and like smashed that dream. But but like I've always had that confidence in myself where I'm like, I don't give a shit what like any guy thinks like I don't know or I do know or whatever.
You have to be like that.
Yeah,
you have to be like that.
Be a little unhinged, like.
Yeah.
But the boys were always my best friends. I got to be honest, like as a little girl, and I think that like kind of drove my sports fandom anyway, because like that's kind of who I hung out with. But I think, I think back to the point, like you got to be unhinged and just confident, and like who cares what people like? You can't let any of that stuff bother you, but. I do think, like, you've all made some really good points. We're seeing a lot more females in the sport. And I think, like, for me, like, growing up in the 90s, it never occurred to me I could even work in this. And so that's why I never went into journalism. I probably would have, but I had not seen it. And when I was in my late 20s, I went and volunteered for the MLB All-Star Week. And Lauren Gardner was on the stage, doing the introductions for the players. And that's when it clicked to me, like, why am I not doing that? Like, I've been this diehard fan my whole life. Like, that should be my job. And so walking away from that, that's when I was like, yup. So yeah, I mean, back to your point again, like we're all doing really important work. And I think like more girls that see it and see the real world examples of what we're doing, then like, when you see it, you can be it. So
have you had women reach out to you? Because I have, because they know that there are not a lot of, I think I can count on maybe 1.5 hands how many Locked On hosts are female. And I've gotten a few messages from women who say they specifically watch my show because I'm a co-host, because they like seeing a woman talking about baseball.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's such a great honor and compliment.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I was like, thank you. I'm always shocked when people reach out to me. I'm always shocked when people say they watch my show, listen to my show, like my show. So anytime anyone says something like that, I still can't believe it. It's just like, oh, wow. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
I have it, like a lot of people have me on their podcast as a guest. And so I get this question all the time of like, what's it like being a woman in sports? And I mean, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just a person in sports. Like,
yeah,
kind of my answer. Like, I just love sports like everybody else. So
I just happen to be way prettier than a man.
Well,
no,
you know,
and I try to lean into, like, again, I said this earlier, but like the emotional side of the sport, that's something I think we can really contribute that maybe they don't.
yeah.
I put out an article last week about Garrett Cole's return after 569 days out of the sport. And I tapped more into like what that must feel like for him as a little kid that dreamed of being a Yankee, instead of like, oh, Garrett Cole's back. Here's his stats leading up to his injury. And like, here's what we can hope that he can do in his return. It was more like the emotional side. And sure enough, Amy Cole liked it and shared the article to her story, his wife. And so yeah, like I think we gotta really lean into
He knows you exist. How cool is that?
That's very, 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 very.
It was their day off that she shared it. So I'm like, oh, I hope maybe she shared it with him that day. But
yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. I thought I'd mention a few other women podcasters that didn't that I like, that I didn't necessarily didn't make it on the show. Just to throw out some names so that for the people to know that there's I found about 14 or 15 women who podcast about baseball. It's not easy digging these. There's a lot more of them than this, because there's a lot of podcasts where women are one of a group of podcasters, that maybe they don't have the main role. But for example, I don't know if you've heard of No Crying in Baseball. That's one of my favorites. Emily Nyman had for a long time, Breaking Balls.
Yeah.
I think she's on hiatus at the moment. I tried to get her on with us. I love Emily. She's hilarious, and she's usually right, and she's smart as a whip, but she's hilarious as well. Kelly Franco, obviously the 3-inning fan. I contacted John Boy to see, because I could remember only one woman that I saw on John Boy Media that was a podcast.
Sarah.
Was it Sarah? Was she doing
Sarah
the farm
Wilson,
show?
Lily?
Yeah.
Sarah Wilson, Swilly Sports is her handle.
Was
Yeah.
she doing the farm show about the farm? The guys that are coming up on the farm?
I don't know, but I know she's very front facing in a lot of their content.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so he didn't respond to me, of course. But yeah. But anyways, I find it discouraging that they, don't have too many women. They haven't really not invested at all in women at John Boy. And it seems like they could do that. Yeah.
Don't get me started on that. We could have a whole hour of me complaining, but let's no.
We're gonna keep it positive.
Let's see. Who else? Sarah Langs. I mentioned her before. Hold on. Baseball Isn't Boring podcast with Courtney Finicum. Grace Monroe, Yankees Morning Brew. So there's a few other women doing some Yankees, but I don't know. I don't think there's too many women in the Yankee. I can't think of too many other women in the Yankee group that are out there that I watch, or that
there are not a lot of us. There are a lot of Yankee podcasts. There's about 10,000 of them.
There's 1,000 of them, and they're very much the same. And I wanted to mention, I've been taking this 3-week workshop with Chris Cotillo from Mass Live. He also teaches at Boston College, and he does this like short workshop about writing for podcast, sports writing. And one of the things that he said about making your podcast stand out and everything is to do things that no one else is doing. And that's advice that I could definitely use because I'm doing a lot of stats right now on mine. I like to what I usually do is I'll review the games that just went by, and I do my podcast on Thursday, usually the Yankees off day, and then I preview the upcoming games. So it's sort of a dual purpose. But I certainly would love to find ways of making my content a lot more interesting, working on that, and that's one reason why I took this workshop. But anyway, I just want to thank all of you for joining me. Anyone have final thoughts that they might like to share to encourage any of the women who might be out there wanting to get started?
Just start.
Just go.
Just do
That's
it.
what I say too. Just get started.
It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, I feel like this is so cliche, like you can make it better later, but I think it is, I mean, it's scary. I want to acknowledge that too. I mean, I think even with the best of experience, it can be scary to take that leap, but just do it. And learn. It's okay to learn as you go. We're all I think I know I'm still learning. And just start.
Yep.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to ask for help if you know of creators that, you want to emulate, if you know of creators that you want to collaborate with. It can't hurt to shoot them a DM. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? They don't see it, or they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm don't have enough time for that." Like, you're no worse off than you were before. It cannot hurt to ask. No matter what, it cannot hurt to ask the question.
Right.
And they might say yes. I mean, I've landed some of my guests just because I was like, I'll shoot my shot. And
me with Michael Welch from Twilight. I was like, hey, do you want to be on my podcast and talk about the Dodgers and maybe talk about Twilight? And he was like, yeah.
I love that. I have yet to land a big fish. I had Ian Happ is the part owner of a coffee company. And I contacted the coffee company, and the president of the company actually answered the phone when I called, which tells you how small this company is. Anyway, and I got them on my show to talk about the winter meetings because Connect Roasters went and provided, coffee and so on. Anyway, so I thought, wow, this is great. Maybe it'll turn into a sponsorship, but it did not. But I'm a massive coffee holic, so I loved it. But that was my biggest score so far in landing someone to talk to on the show. But I have reached out, and I was inspired, I think, by the Clint Hurdle that I listened to today. When I listened to that, I reached out to Jimmy Leland. He's my favorite manager. I thought, just reach out to your favorite manager. Try that. But I realize he's 80, and he's probably not going to do any. But
I will tell you, I've gotten rejected by Lindsey Vonn and people like that, but I've also had people like Clint Hurdle say yes. And so you just never know.
So I decided to take a leap of faith. I thank you for that, for inspiring me.
Yeah, I think just know too that like there are going to be times you want to give up. There's going to be a lot of times that you want to give up and you doubt yourself. And especially as a female, we have one time a month where our hormones are like, for me, one time of the month, every month I start doubting myself. I know it's coming, right? But yeah, like just know you're going to doubt yourself. You're going to want to give up. But remember, I mean, Michael Jordan didn't make varsity as a sophomore, and Derek Jeter called his parents and begged to come home from AAA. So just know, or I don't know, he was probably single A at that time. But like everybody goes through it. We're all human, and get back on the horse the next day and celebrate those small wins. Celebrate the small wins when you get like. You're going to have those milestones that you hit. Like you might have a guest where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. Like you got to really lean in and celebrate that and use that as your fuel for the next time and for the next milestone. So don't give up.
Well, I want to thank all of you for joining me this evening. This has just been a wonderful conversation and a great resource for sharing ideas. Lots of things I can think of, I can take away to use myself. It's just been a pleasure getting to know each of you and how you do your work and how you go about representing a number of things, whether it be a team or whether you take on some sponsorship or whatever it is, whether you do that successfully. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing that with me and with our audience, which may be small, but I believe that this is the sort of podcast that may grow in the coming days. I think people, as we start sharing it out, will find it useful and helpful. So again, thank you very much. And as always, thank Pinstripe Chronicles for their continuing support of women. Guys. So we'll catch you on your various shows. And everybody, I wish that I was more techno, because what I should have each of your links so that people can find you. But if anyone is in the chat and would like to find someone that can't, just check with me and I'll definitely get you in touch with them. So thanks very much. Good night and have a great evening. And as always, go Yankees.
Go Braves.
Go O's.
Go Tigers.
Stay lovely.